All right, today we're going on a guided tour of the single most complex object in the known universe. And guess what? It's the one that's sitting right inside your head. We're going to explore how this incredible machine actually works, and we'll start with a really simple, but kind of surprising, question about its weight.
So, get this. The average adult human brain weighs about 1.8 kilograms. That's nearly 4 pounds. To put that in perspective, just imagine strapping 2 big bags of sugar to your neck and carrying them around all day.
And that leads to a fantastic question, right? I mean, if it's so heavy, why aren't we all just constantly complaining about neck pain? Well, the answer is a total masterpiece of biological engineering.
Okay, so our first stop on the tour is the brain's absolutely incredible protective system. Because you see, it's not just your hard skull that's doing all the heavy lifting. There's a much more elegant solution at play here.
You know, tucked right between your brain and your skull are these 3 protective membranes called the cranial meninges. Think of them like layers of high-tech bubble wrap. You've got the super tough outer layer, the dura mater, then the web-like middle layer called the arachnoid, and finally the delicate inner pia mater, which hugs the brain itself. But the real magic, the secret sauce, happens in the space between those middle and inner layers. It's filled with something called cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF, and it acts as the ultimate shock absorber for your brain. It's a perfect fluid cushion. So because your brain is literally floating in this fluid, its buoyancy reduces its effective weight by over 90%. That's insane! So the weight your neck actually feels is closer to just 180 grams. It's this incredible natural suspension system.
All right, we have made it past the brain's security system, so let's head inside. We're starting at the very top with the biggest and most complex part, the forebrain. This, my friends, is your body's command center. It's the seat of your entire personality and intellect.
Now, the star of the forebrain is without a doubt the cerebrum. It's split into the famous left and right hemispheres, and they talk to each other through this massive bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. The cerebrum's wrinkly outer layer is where all the complex thinking goes down. It's got areas for controlling movement, processing your senses, and these super important association areas for stuff like memory and communication.
And the cerebrum is made of 2 main types of tissue. You've probably heard of gray matter, right? Well, that makes up the outer 80%, and it's where the actual thinking and processing happens. The other 20%, the white matter, is on the inside. You can think of it as all the insulated, high-speed fiber optic cables that let all the different parts of your brain talk to each other at lightning speed.
Okay, if we go a little deeper inside the forebrain, we find the thalamus. The best way to think about this is like the central post office, or the main switchboard for your brain. Pretty much all the sensory and motor information heading into or out of the cerebrum has to pass through the thalamus, which sorts it all out and sends it to exactly the right place.
And right below the thalamus is the hypothalamus. Now this thing is tiny, but it is mighty. It's your body's internal thermostat and regulator, constantly working behind the scenes to keep everything in balance, controlling your body temperature and, telling you when you're hungry or thirsty.
The forebrain also holds our emotional brain, the limbic system. This network works right alongside the hypothalamus to govern our feelings, our motivations, and even things like sexual behavior and memory. And 2 of its most famous parts are the amygdala and the hippocampus.
So let's take a quick look at how these 2 handle our most powerful feelings. The amygdala is basically your brain's alarm system, and it's really closely tied to intense primal emotions, like rage. The hippocampus, on the other hand, isn't just for making memories. It also processes a way wider range of emotions, everything from fear and pain to love and affection.
Okay, traveling down from the forebrain, our tour is now taking us to the midbrain. You can think of this area as reflex central. It's the hub for all of our immediate, totally unconscious reactions to the world whizzing by around us.
So the midbrain has these 4 little bumps on it called the corpora quadrigemina. The top 2, the superior colliculi, are in charge of your visual reflexes, like when you automatically whip your head around towards a sudden movement. And the bottom 2, the inferior colliculi, do the same exact thing but for sound, managing all your auditory reflexes. And our final stop on this tour is the hindbrain, which is located at the back and the base of the brain. This is your body's automated life support system. It's managing all the essential functions that keep you alive without you ever having to think about them. So the hindbrain has 3 key parts. First, you've got the pons, which acts like a bridge connecting different brain regions, and it also helps out with your breathing. Then there's the cerebellum, with its super folded surface. It's the absolute master of your balance and coordination. And finally, the medulla oblongata, which connects to the spinal cord and controls the non-negotiables, breathing, heart rate, and digestion.
So we've toured all these different departments, but of course, they don't work by themselves. They all form a single, seamlessly integrated supercomputer. Let's see how these final pieces of the puzzle connect.
You see, the last three parts we just talked about, the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata, they all join forces to form a structure called the brainstem. This is the critical trunk that connects the higher brain to the spinal cord, relaying messages back and forth and running the body's most basic, essential survival functions. And there you have it, a final summary of our whole tour. You've got the forebrain at the top for all the higher-level thinking and feeling, then the midbrain in the middle for those instant reflexes, and the hindbrain at the base, handling your balance and life support. It's a pretty simple structure for an infinitely complex machine. Think about it, from the fluid that makes it feel lighter to the reflexes that keep you safe, almost everything we've talked about today happens automatically. It is a vast, unconscious system working in perfect harmony, totally beneath your awareness. And that leaves us with one last kind of mind-blowing question. What will you choose to do with the tiny fraction of your thoughts that you actually do